All right, y'all, let's get our productivity on. Just so you know, it's Thursday evening. Recording this late, had a very long day, and I've got showings all day tomorrow. So, anyway, today's theme, training topic, whatever you want to call it, is going to be simply your top 25. I want to drill this down and not just, call this a sphere of influence training, but really make it more tactical and show you, like, mindset wise, what you should be focusing on, okay? And where to start, right? I'm going to be using Jay Barrett as an example. I've had him on as a guest this year. He's a relatively new agent. I think technically he's probably about to finish up his, second year, 2.5 years in, something like that. He's already closed 25 residential deals and another six land deals. And I didn't even look to see what he has pending, but he's going to have a really strong year. His highest sales price year to date, 830,000. So he's doing really, really well. And when I had Jay on, he was talking about all these things he does to grow his business. But then when I asked him, I was like, where are most of your deals come from? He's like, well, my sphere of influence. So he spends like 4,500 bucks a month on billboards and all. It's got all this stuff going on and is incredibly active on social. Again, his most active, most prominent lead source is a sphere of influence. Now, to that point, I wouldn't want to deter anybody from using billboards or being active on social because that provides like the social proof and just that top of mind awareness, right? So billboards, top of mind awareness, your social media is your social proof. So I know some agents right now that are trying to, farm an area. Maybe the person I'm thinking of is not from the area, so doesn't really have a sphere of influence. Is trying to build a sphere of influence within a very prominent subdivision, which is a great goal, but trying to do it solely on relationships and not combining it with that social proof. You got to show them that you're a nice person, you're a good person, you're going to be fun to work with, that you care about people, but they need to see like your digital resume popping, every single day with social proof that you're a professional agent. So let's break it down. What we're talking about here is leveraging your sphere of influence to get consistent sales, looking at 2 to 4 sales a month. For most of y'all who will hit play on this recording, that's life changing. It's also, I think, important to mention that sphere of influence is the most heavily neglected form of prospecting or pond that we fish in, if you will. So many agents don't really start to really cultivate that sphere of influence until they get comfortable with things, right? They feel like they know enough to justify reaching out to people that know already know, like, and trust them. But if you go back and watch the replay of Jay's interview on jasonwilluniversity.com, you will hear him say that right out of the gate. The first thing he did was contact the 25 people in Jasper, Alabama that he was closest to. Those are people that he identified from having shared a meal with, like been to his house. He's broken bread with these people. They are people that he just knows they have. I think this is exactly the way they put it. He goes, I have their back and I know they've got mine. And man, that's pretty powerful, huh? So you want to just get out a piece of paper and start thinking about who those people are in your life, who's got your back. And a lot of these people, y'all, they don't understand how our industry works. They certainly don't know how we get paid, and they're going to think we're just doing just fine. Like their business, if it's a 9 to 5, a salary, trade, whatever, it doesn't require them talking to their friends per se for them to make money, right? So our business is built on relationships and we're not going to make money or be successful without the help of people, the continued help and support of people that know, like, and trust us. So I thought it was really important in that interview with Jay to hear him say that was like step number one. And that's a sign of somebody too who understands that or the importance of like the now factor. Like done is better than perfect. Just getting out and doing it instead of waiting until you know everything. Just how important that is because so much of this business is learning on the job. But every one of you should have somebody that you know, that you trust, and that you would refer. And so you've got those people. You should be have that same kind of top of mind position for people in your circle. If you're having trouble thinking about those people, I posted a clip on TikTok today from another agent interview I did with Timothy Mills out of Mobile, Alabama, who just said, "Yeah, it's everywhere you go." So like we're already going places throughout the day, If we're taking our kids to practice, the other parents at practice, that's our sphere. We go to the doctor, the dentist, the post office. We might have places that we frequent for coffee or lunch or dinner. I mean, all of this stuff. There's a top 200 list that Jared James gives out to all of his coaching clients. I have it if you want it. It's just a reminder of like who these people are that you may not think about, like your financial advisor. You may not think like, he could refer you. That's one of the best people that can refer you. Your accountant, if you've got a lawyer, all these people count in addition to friends and family. All right. Now, if you just move to an area, you don't know a soul, then you're going to start really, really small. It may take you, a few weeks to develop that kind of core 25 or establish a know, like, and trust factor with that core 25, but it can be done. It's just like an intentional effort. You're making it a top priority. So let's do this reality check real quick and just let you know that agents out there waste thousands of dollars chasing cold leads. So the research says it takes twice as much energy to convert a cold lead than it does somebody who is warm. And a warm lead is just somebody who already knows you, right? Therein is an opportunity for me to footnote the importance of social media because you can start developing this know, like, and trust factor with people before you even meet them because your content is so authentic, so down to earth, and so relatable. So what you want to do is just start with this 25 and let's turn that into a referral engine and then we're going to start building it. I think kind of an ideal number to build up to would be somewhere around, and it depends on how much money you want to make. But a number I often use in trainings is about 300 folks. So it'd be ideal if you had 300 folks on a 33 or 36 touch program. They're getting Christmas cards and a newsletter maybe once or twice a month, and they're getting a quarterly phone call. They're getting a market analysis, a CMA on their home every 6 months, and all that adds up to, at least, 33 touches. You get 300 people in a database, that's a lot of deals a year. That the math comes out to about, 60 deals a year. So you may only want to do 20 or 25. That may be life changing to you. So you may already have that core number of people that would recognize your face, like in the grocery store. And so it kind of just puts it into perspective what you might be leaving on the table in terms of commission dollars. All right. Now, once your database gets up, I think beyond 50, because you need to have a top 25 or be thinking of a top 50, in my opinion. Those are like your core people. Those are people you don't even have to think about calling or thinking about wishing a happy birthday. It's just kind of instinct. It's a matter of like autopilot. These are the people, not only that are most likely to send you business, to trust you with their referrals, but their close friends, their family members, their past clients, they're your kids' coaches. It's these people you see on a regular basis, like, your dentist or your financial planner, which I mentioned. All right. So they know you by name. They'd answer if you called and they'd recommend you without hesitation. So if you don't have 25 people that you can write their names down on a piece of paper relatively quickly, then that's the goal, right? And you can start meeting those people at open houses. You can start, getting out of your comfort zone at the kids' practices. If you're new to the area, you can start frequenting a coffee shop. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do. in terms of action steps to start building that 25, and then you're just building it from there. Okay. We're going to want to start putting these into like an ABC category. So A's are going to be like, they know you the best. They trust you the most. B groups, these are people, that, they might be neighbors. They might be people fist bump at the gym. It might be people you see at church, but, you've never broken bread with them. But, after church, you visit for a few minutes. It could also be vendors you use. I'm always big on this. Like if somebody wants my business, I'm like, all right, well, I want yours too. Like this is a two-way street. So plumber, person who cuts your hair, your insurance agent, those aren't people you see as regular as some of these other folks, but they are prime examples. So members of your B group can become members of your A group, and members of your A group can fall off. And so this is like a category of buckets that you're constantly maintaining. Your C group is people you probably, have either lost touch with, or maybe you're just kind of social media friends, or maybe you just see them really every now and then, but it's not like a constant regular thing. They're not staples, visible staples consistently in your life. They still belong in that greater ecosystem, but they don't get as much personal time as your B's and certainly not your A's. I hope that makes sense. All right. I go a little bit, I hope I'm not going too fast, but I tend to go too fast when I'm doing this by myself. But let's think about just this, keeping it simple with the core 25, and what that would look like in terms of strengthening those relationships and turning them into that referral machine. So I think a big point that I need to make here to kind of let everybody's, anxiety level lower, let their guard down, kind of give you a break here, is that you're not going to ask them for business, not directly, you maybe indirectly. And some of them, heck, you may know them so well, you're just gonna be like, hey, I need some business. Like, you, I need your help. Rack your brain. Think about somebody that is currently in the market to buy, sell, or invest. Going back to that interview I did with Jay, he was talking about those individual meetings he had when he first launched his career with his top 25, and he can remember them giving him names right there on the spot. That's powerful. Okay. But for most of us, if we've got to come out and directly ask for it, we're just not going to. We're not going to do it. So, yeah. So let me let you off the hook right now and go, well, you don't have to. All I'm talking about is having a conversation. And typically, conversations with people that we like and they like us, there's a reciprocal like, they're going to inquire about what's up with us. We're going to say, like, hey, how's things going with you? It might even be a text. Hey, you're on my mind today. We haven't seen you for, a little bit. How's everybody? How's the wife and kids doing? What's going on with, and a conversation will start. Well, they probably shouldn't be an A or a top 25 if at some point they don't go, well, what's up with you? Oh my gosh. Well, interest rates are going down a little bit. I'm hoping that trend continues because it's been pretty slow with this high interest rate economy. And I'm just, oh my gosh. So please, help me spread the word that interest rates are coming down, and let me know if you hear of anybody that has been talking about or thinking about buying, but has just, been deterred by interest rates that are too high. Very soft landing there in terms of the ask, in my opinion. But if the conversation doesn't go there, it just doesn't go there. They may see it in a social media post that goes, boom, rates are coming down. Who do you know that's looking to buy, sell, or invest? And show them the math. It's so easy these days with AI to do this math. When I would do these trainings before, when I would do a training, let's say a path is math training, and I would say, get people to be motivated to buy, sell, or invest by showing them the numbers. Because a lot of people just don't know like what it takes to buy a home, how much you got to put down, how much you got to have saved, how much the monthly payment's going to be. Well, ChatGPT will do all that work for you. So you can plug in a current interest rate versus, a 6.8 or 7% interest rate, and just kind of show them how that affordability index has improved with the reduction of the rate. So that would be something that may be like, oh man, I just talked to Jason today. And so now he's top of mind. And now I'm scrolling Facebook or Instagram and here's this post. And man, yeah, he's like, help me get the word out. So that's what I'm going to do. It's just a very fluid process and it is not as cringy as you're making it out to be in your head. Okay. So especially with your A's, those are going to be your raving fans. Those people are like your besties. They're, your VIPs. I think that's a good way to think about them. Like they're just very important people. And the way that I would engage with them, in addition to, the regular stuff you're already doing, you should already be calling these people, going to lunch with these people, maybe meeting for coffee or a happy hour, but you're certainly sending these people text pretty frequently. Okay. So that's how we identify them. All right. And then we're going to up the treatment. We're going to provide a VIP treatment. We're going to, add a little pixie dust on this relationship. We're going to, kind of nurture it a little bit more, but we're going to just make it a little bit special, right? So, and this may be in response to them referring somebody or just constantly being a raving fan, just small gifts like, this person so well, their favorite slice of pizza and their favorite pizza joint. Their favorite comedian. What type of music they like. So if somebody's coming to town, you can get them a pair of tickets. You can get them a box of movie candy. Their favorite flower. You can have a small succulent to drop off at their desk at their office. But you're going to do something special for them. So those are going to be your top 25 to 50. And then that next group in your B group, as this thing grows, those people, might just get a quarterly touch, a market update, a birthday card. It might just be some random organic social media engagement. It's just not as strategic as or intentional as your A group. And then your C, maybe those people just get your newsletter. Maybe those people are just people that you have in social media group, that you've established. And you put everybody in the social media group, but there's only like 25 or 50 in there that you are really, really in touch with. And then maybe another 50 to 100 that, you're in touch with more on a quarterly basis. And then the C's are just in there. All they get is the newsletter. They get the community Facebook group posts and they see you on social media. So they're in your orbit, but you're not necessarily in touch with those people, not like you are with your A's and your B's. Let's talk about tools real quick, and then we may just go over some metrics and then kind of wrap this up because I still have stuff to do and it's 8:33 in the PM. So systems, so many of y'all don't have a tool, even if it's an Excel spreadsheet. I had KD on, interviewed Katie Edenfield, guys just crushing it on the Gulf Coast of Alabama. And I was like, KD, you got a CRM? This is live on the interview. He's like, no. I'm like, what? What? But what do you use? And he's like, oh, I got it. I think he said he had an Excel spreadsheet or he had something, he had something. Maybe it was even the notes app on his phone. He had these contacts somewhere. So important, y'all, to invest in a CRM. And you can find good ones that don't break the bank, that are very, very affordable. If you need recommendations for those, just text or DM, send me a private message, whatever. So you need some way to track them. If an Excel spreadsheet is the best you can do, it's the best you can do. But have something in there. If you have a home office or an office inside your brokerage, maybe you got a whiteboard, that'd be a great place to put your top 25 or 50 names, just keeping them up and visible, keeping them organized. The CRM is so powerful because it's going to show you, you can log calls, log texts, you can enter their birthday, so it'll remind you, in addition to showing you, a complete inventory of the communication, it'll remind you, hey, it's time for so and so's quarterly phone call, or hey, it's so and so's anniversary, and that's powerful. Okay. I think I've already beat the social media horse maybe a little too much, but man, that is so huge. I mean, it really is. They want to see that you're busy. And if they don't see that you're busy on social, they're just going to assume that, you're not a successful agent. And, you know, that's the sad fact, but it is a fact. And it is a fact you can use to your advantage once you start to really harness the power of the toe to toe and the, you know, attention that they're going to get or you're going to get from them on social media by consistent posts. Next tool, something I harp about a lot, haven't much lately, but it's the calendar. It's having a schedule. I already mentioned how powerful the CRM can be in terms of those scheduling reminders, so that you are just constantly and consistently rotating these touches between your A and B groups, but also just knowing like, hey, today is my day to go out and get that social proof. Today is my day to go out and preview all the new homes in my farm and then document the best amenity I see along the way, the funny thing that happens, but certainly me out, walking, pounding the pavement, walking these streets. There's several things to highlight when you're going into a home that can really generate engagement. Like if you walk into a house and it's got that bright green carpet, or maybe there's something retro and you're like, man, is this coming back? I keep seeing this. Florida tile, crazy things. I posted not too long ago here recently. I went to this Fizbo's house. He had multiple urinals in the bathrooms, and all the bathrooms are carpeted. And that did really well in terms of creating engagement. The last thing I might suggest would be, to do some events. I think people, when they hear or see other agents, mega agents, like hosting annual client appreciation events, it's really overwhelming. It's going to take money out of pocket. It's going to take sponsorship dollars. It's going to take fairly big following and a support system. So let's keep it small. Really just want everybody who doesn't have a top 25. We're going to keep it right there. That's where we're living. In terms of events, open houses, open houses. It could even be the coffee meetups, the lunch meetups, or the pop buys where you're just dropping somebody buy a box of their favorite movie candy or box of donuts or whatever to their office. You know, after you leave, people are going, who's that? Or if you do it often enough, it's going to be like other people in the office are going to engage and go, man, my realtor doesn't ever bring me candy. Then they don't even know what my favorite candy is. That's powerful. But I want you to think about the open house very, very seriously as an event. So I don't know, you may have been paying attention to the cookout open house graphics I've been posting lately. So, had a really successful open house kind of by default. One Sunday, the printer wasn't working. I couldn't print out my sign-in sheet, couldn't print out my flyers. And I just thought, man, this is bad, you know? But it was like one of those things where it's been a crazy week and I haven't really had all that much time to prepare. And so I just went in with what I had, myself. It was a beautiful day and it was not a hot day or too cold day. The weather was just like perfect. So I basically just hung outside in the front yard and I was waving to people that were coming, driving by, and I was trying to wave people in. When they get out of their car, I was just right there in the yard to meet them, immediately engage in conversation. I give them the logistics, the lay of the land, everything they need to know about the house, and tell them like, look, I'm not a hovering guy. I'm going to hover around you. Just experience this house at your own pace. If you want to lounge around in the outdoor living space, if you want to sit on the couch, if you Just take it all in. Take the time to take it all in. And picked up a client off of that open house and closed that client. And so I just planted a seed in my mind. I was like, yeah, need to do more of this. And so now, with these cookout open houses, I got a tent, I got a grill, I got tunes, I got coolers, I got food, and as soon as they get out of their car, I'm right there to meet them. They're not awkwardly walking up to the front door. But last weekend had somebody who showed up late to the open house who I hadn't picked up the signs yet, but he could tell I was starting to kind of like fold up the table and the chairs and all that. He's like, "Do I have time to go in?" I was like, "Yes, go in, go in." So he goes in, comes back out. I'm still kind of breaking things down. And he's like, "Look, I'm not in the market to buy, but I'm renovating my house in the subdivision to sell. And, would you like the opportunity maybe to sell that for me?" And I was like, "Yeah." Yeah, so there was a couple. I picked up one buyer and potentially one seller off of that. If that is if heck, if I'm just getting one opportunity from the open house, I'm satisfied. So some of us are very overwhelmed. We think about like big networking events, big client appreciation events, going to the Chamber of Commerce meetings, going to, different functions here and there. Turn your open house into a function. We had some friends from the neighborhood stop by last weekend, have a couple beers, have some chicken wings. And while we're visiting, people are, coming and going from the open house and we're engaging with them too and having people from the neighborhood there who could answer questions about schools and their experience in the neighborhood just kind of added to the validity of the lifestyle of the subdivision, but also, doesn't make me look bad, right? To have people at the open house supporting me that are knowledgeable about the schools, the community, the subdivision, the events, lifestyle, all that stuff.